Ever feel like school kind of, well, maybe drummed is too strong a word, but like it kind of pushed that creative spark out of you?
Yeah,
We're
definitely.
diving deep into that today,
Love it.
all because of this really interesting episode of the Think Outside the Box podcast. Emily and Jake really got us thinking.
Yeah, they make a good point right away that, like, schools are super important, of course, for, learning, structure, all that.
Totally.
But then the way they're set up sometimes, it's almost like it's more about getting those right answers than actually, like, thinking in a way that leads to something new.
Right. Like, remember those standardized tests?
Don't remind me.
Were they really testing our ability to think differently? To like
Yeah.
really solve problems in a creative way? I don't know. It's like we learned to find that one right answer instead of exploring all those other possibilities. What do you think?
It's huge GE, that difference.
Hmm.
Real creativity.
Hmm.
It's not just about, like, being artsy, right? It's everywhere. It's the scientist finding the cure to a disease. It's that entrepreneur launching a totally new business. It's that spark, that originality that lets us solve problems, no matter what the field is.
And maybe this whole fear of messing up is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Emily and Jake talked about how schools can sometimes make you feel like mistakes are BAD.
Absolutely.
Like you said, creativity needs that space to experiment, to try things, even if they don't work out the first time.
You got it. That fear of failure can really squash creativity. When we're worried about grades or disappointing someone, we're way less likely to take the risks that lead to breakthroughs.
Yeah,
And, it's kind of sad. But they're right. Kids are naturally creative. But somewhere along the line in the school system, that spark can get dimmer.
it's true.
What happened to that, like, fearless way we experimented as kids, just trying things out?
It's like we unlearn to play.
Exactly.
Oh, and they mentioned Sir Ken Robinson, the TED Talk guy.
Oh, yeah.
His whole point is that the way we do school now, all that emphasis on logic and structure,
Yeah.
it might actually be training us to be less creative. Like we're teaching conformity, not creativity.
Yeah, it's like fitting into the mold instead of breaking it.
Exactly.
And what I love about what Robinson says,
Mhm.
and Emily and Jake picked up on this too, is that he doesn't just complain about it. He says, hey, let's treat creativity as a core skill, just as important as reading, writing.
Totally.
It's about those aha moments being just as important as knowing all the facts and figures. And it's like, we've built these walls, right, between subjects.
Oh, totally. Like stay in your lane.
Yeah, like math over here, science over there, history, each one's in its own little box. But Emily and Jake, they were like, hold on a minute. Real life problems, they don't care about our neat little boxes.
Not even a little bit. Think about it like any tough situation at work in your life. It's never just, oh, apply this one subject and boom, solved. You got to pull from everywhere, make connections nobody taught you in a textbook.
Exactly. And they had this cool example about tech and art, how they're basically like mashed up in design these days.
Oh, for sure.
Your phone, a website, that electric car everyone's talking about. It's all creative problem solving that's ignoring those old boundaries.
It's art that works. Like literally it functions. It's amazing.
It is. And yet, when school's got to cut budgets, what goes first? Usually the arts, right?
Always. It's like they're extra. Like dessert, not the main course of learning. But isn't that kind of backwards? We need creative solutions more than ever.
It makes no sense. Emily and Jake were adamant about this, expressing yourself creatively, whether it's painting, music, whatever. It's not just a nice to have, it's fundamental.
Totally.
It builds those thinking skills we need to tackle any problem. And it's not even just about the art itself. It's that sense of wonder of experimenting that can apply to anything.
And that's where they said something that really clicked for me. The power of play. Like when we're kids, we're constantly trying stuff out, taking risks, even messing up in a good way, those happy accidents, lead to discoveries. But somewhere along the line, a lot of us, we lose that playful exploration.
It's so true. And play isn't just about having fun, although that's important too, of course.
Of course.
But it's how we learn naturally, figure things out. We build resilience, that ability to bounce back. Think about when you were a kid, play is how you found what you loved, right? You explored, got curious. That's powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's like we're told, okay, enough playing around, time to get serious, time to study. Like they don't go together at all. But imagine if we could bring some of that playfulness back into learning.
Oh, absolutely. And Emily and Jake, they had some really neat ideas about how to do that.
They did.
One that really stuck with me was project-based learning.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's like, what if, instead of just feeding students information, we let them really own it?
Right.
They pick something they're passionate about, dig deep, figure things out on their own.
Not just memorizing, but like actually becoming mini experts.
Yes, exactly.
It's the difference between like reading a recipe and actually baking the cake,
yeah.
right? You get your hands dirty, you learn by doing.
There you go. And speaking of getting things wrong, which happens when you're actually trying,
Yeah.
Emily and Jake are all about bringing back good old-fashioned experimentation. What if, instead of drilling in that right answer, we encourage kids to try a bunch of different things, to ask what if more often?
Ooh, I like that. What if?
Right. What if mistakes were just part of the process, not something to be afraid of?
Because some of the coolest stuff that's ever been invented, it came from someone taking a chance, trying something unexpected.
All the time.
And who knows what could happen if we gave students more say in what they learn and how they want to learn it. Maybe that's the key to unlocking even more creativity.
It's giving them that ownership, that excitement. Imagine like a classroom where every student is diving into their thing.
Yeah.
That curiosity is encouraged. And finding something out for yourself is just as important as any grade. That's what sparks real creativity.
Okay, so to bring it all back around to our big question, do schools kill creativity? It's
What?
complicated, right?
Mm-hmm.
After going deep with Emily and Jake, I don't think it's that schools are, like, designed to squash creativity.
Yeah, right.
It's more like the system needs a reboot.
Exactly. It's not about throwing everything out. Schools don't have to be creativity killers.
It's about changing how we think about it all.
Yes. Realizing that creativity isn't extra. It's essential. Putting critical thinking, problem solving, coming up with new ideas, putting all that front and center. And giving it just as much weight as those test scores.
And hey, maybe part of it is remembering what it was like to be a kid again. That playful, curious energy. We don't have to lose that.
You need that now more than ever.
The world needs creative thinkers, people who aren't afraid to do things differently, to find new solutions. So here's a little something to think about as you go about your day. How can you tap into your own creativity? What gets you excited? What would you explore if you knew you couldn't fail? Keep those questions in mind, and let's see what amazing things we can create. Until next time, keep diving deep.